All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Inside View. My name is Jason Underberg, and I'm here with Brian Kovner.
What's up, everybody?
And today we have a wonderful sponsor. As you can tell, Brian and I are dressed really nicely.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was going to give you some compliments on your jacket.
You look pretty good, man.
Thank you.
I got to be honest.
I feel pretty good.
You know?
So let's give a proper introduction to our friends over at Proper Cloth, which is our sponsor for today. And we had the opportunity, the experience of getting the suit custom made. I mean, short of getting on a plane and traveling to Thailand, this is probably the most authentic way that you can get a custom suit. And I mean, it is form fitted. I actually went and did all the measurements. Although I learned you should not measure yourself with a regular old school tape measure.
Did you use a ruler?
Because of the measuring the metal within it. But that's a whole other story. There's a specific measure you want to use.
You should probably also measure yourself at like a certain time of the day.
I don't know about that. But I would vouch for the quality and the craftsmanship of the jacket and everything else. Proper Cloth. Shout out to our friends there. We'll be representing them and wearing them all summer. And propercloth.com. Check it out.
Yeah, check it out. I absolutely love this jacket. So I feel great. So I'm ready to go. And I got to tell you a funny story while we're giving shout outs, although this is quite the opposite. So I'm sitting on the couch this weekend and, my lady says, I really want to go get reflexology. And I've never had reflexology in my life. And usually I let her go and, I just kind of wait behind. But I said, you know what? What the hell? I'll give it a shot and I'll go to one of these sessions. And so I did. And I got to be honest with you, it was probably the biggest mistake I ever made in my life.
Reflexology, when I think of that, I'm thinking of like banging your knee just to make sure things work now.
So really, I don't know if I just had a bad experience, but reflexology is supposedly, it's a foot massage. It's just of the feet. They're supposed to trigger certain pressure points and et cetera. But imagine you went for a professional massage and all they did was your shoulder for an hour. Okay. So this is reflexology for the foot. I don't know how anybody enjoys this, but I got to be completely honest. About 10 minutes in, she's doing my little pinky toe, which is probably, 3 centimeters big. How long can you massage a 3 centimeter pinky toe before it goes absolutely numb?
I would say a minute or two.
Yeah. So you kind of go through those phases where you're like, this feels so good. This feels so good. Wait a minute. I can't feel it anymore. Okay, this hurts. And it's, and eventually I was just like, I can't wait for this hour to be over.
That's not what you want to be thinking about.
No. So, if it was up to me, I'd probably never go to another reflexology session again. So I just thought I'd share that.
Well, it sounds like that's the opposite of a shout out. So
it is quite
shout in.
It's kind of a shout in, and shout out to everybody watching. Stay away from.
Although
reflexology.
I'd love to hear some positive stories.
Yeah, if you have a positive reflexology story, shoot us a note. We'd love to hear about it.
UNJ.com.
But today we got a great show. We've got Aldez Tequila, and we've got founders Manuel and Jen, who will be joining us momentarily. We're so excited. We're going to taste these beautiful tequilas that we have here. We've got an anejo, a reposado, and a blanco. And I'm not a big tequila drinker, and we're going to drink. We're really going to drink, and we're going to do it straight up, no ice. So I'm excited to see how my taste buds can handle it.
I'm excited to hear their story.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we've known them for some time. We haven't really dug into the ins and outs of launching a tequila brand.
We haven't. And I know so many people are launching brands now, and
right.
some of them are sticking and some of them aren't. And these guys are doing fantastic. I mean, they're at least in the past 3 months that I've known them, I think I've seen them in over 30 different restaurants.
Likewise.
So kudos to them. Excited to meet them, and let's bring them in. Right, and today we've got Manuel and Jen Aczualdez.
Hey,
welcome to the show, guys. It's so nice to have you here. Hopefully you weren't drinking and driving on the way over.
No, not yet. No. we have the driver waiting for us outside.
I was going to say,
have some drinks.
That's probably a good idea. Having an Uber maybe outside might be the way to go.
That's right.
So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
We're excited to have you guys. So tell us, before we start drinking, because I'm really excited to try this tequila. We've been waiting since, to see you guys since we've done this.
Plastic off, so.
Really?
Amazing.
We have been, yeah. We try to keep it as authentic as we possibly can.
We want to see the real reaction.
Yeah, this way if I take the shot, I'm like, you
Exactly.
guys know you guys know we got to do some serious editing.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, tell me, it's been 3 years now since you started your journey.
Yes, exactly. A little bit more than 3 years. I mean, the product, we're almost 2.5 years. Who's counting? But the whole planning of the company is almost 5 years now. So
Wow.
It's been an amazing journey.
Yeah, and tell me how did the concept come about, and give me the shorter, longer, intermediate story here.
Well, his background kind of is the building block of what led us to launch Aldez, starting with, working with all big brands throughout history. Throughout history, I guess.
My history,
Yeah.
So I spent most of my career, it's almost 20 years since I started working in the liquor industry, and majority of my career I spent it with big suppliers. So it got to a point that I finished my journey with them. Asked my wife, hey, listen, I can go back to corporate and do it all over again, or we can start something ourselves. And she said, well, why not? I mean, go ahead, go for it. You already have all the experience and spend all this time. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of like the way that it started for me, going like, wow, I never mentalized to be an entrepreneur. But you make yourself an entrepreneur where you put yourself in different situations,
Absolutely.
Right? So for us, that was the start. But it was for me, I knew that I was going to go that direction, but I didn't know how long it was going to take.
Yeah.
When you work with somebody, they give you something. What we have over here, we build it from the ground up. And that's the big difference when you buy a company, is when you create it. That's when it makes a difference.
Sure.
And the tequila is all like our blood, sweat, and tears.
I bet.
Just no financial backing.
Blood, sweat, and alcohol.
Yeah, like
Totally.
we did it all from the ground up.
That's
and
great.
When it actually was a physical bottle you could hold 3 years later, it was unbelievable. It was actually Cinco de Mayo 2018. We were
Exactly.
bottling.
We're bottling May 5th.
Yeah.
And while everybody was doing everything here with Cinco de Mayo, we were at the distillery filling bottles with the team,
Wow.
putting all the labels by hand. So
Yeah.
it was an amazing memory for us, because I'm going like, wow, it's like a loop. And, Cinco de Mayo is a big celebration here in the U.S., not so much in Mexico. But for us, means a lot just, being here in the U.S.
Yeah. Great.
Wow.
So certified organic, is that something that you decided to go because of the trend of organic, or is that something that's just really near and dear to your heart?
Well, for me, was besides being a little bit part of what the consumer wanted at the time, and they were looking and craving for, because now consumers are very educated. They know exactly. They ask you a lot of questions: how your product is produced,
Absolutely.
are you using any type of additive, coloring, flavoring? So we knew that the trend was going to hit like the heat, and since that we eat like food, it was going to go into drinks. So during my search, I find this distillery that we're already ahead of the curve in a way, because they control every aspect of the production, but also they have the certified organic fields. That for me was actually very important, because we wanted to control every single aspect of the production. Mm-hmm. So having that piece, that it takes a long time, more when the agave plant takes anywhere between 7 to 14 years to reach maturity, to have a distillery that really have the field certified was a huge plus. Mm-hmm. Secondly, they have to certify the distillery and the whole process of production. But what really means to be certified organic is no chemicals in the process of the whole, from the beginning until the end. That you don't use any type of pesticides on the fields, you don't use any type of chemicals in the process of production. For us, that was important, because most brands, if you notice, they never have a nutrition fact on the bottle.
That's right.
You don't know what you're drinking.
That's
in a
right.
way. You believe in the government that it will regulate them, but at the end
We
of
all
the day,
know that's not true.
Right.
At the end of the day, we want to be truly, and besides telling you that it's pure, untouched, and manipulated, we're backing up by a company that say yes, they are.
So obviously it takes longer when it's organic, the process.
Well, not necessarily. All tequilas take the same amount of time to produce. But what it is, to have the certification organic is just that you follow those specific rules and regulations. So
Yeah, I think for us, the organic wasn't like a gimmick or something that we said, oh, people
have
will
to
want
be
it
organic,
more because
right.
it's organic. It was a way to ensure that the quality standards that we had for our product were met.
It's pure.
And there's no other way to do it than to have those certifications.
Mm-hmm.
And guys, don't get me wrong. Being certified organic doesn't mean it tastes good. it means that you follow specific regulations in order to produce
Understood.
the product.
Right.
So the challenge is even more because you base everything of how you harvest your raw materials. In this case, make sure the agave plants are completely ripe and ready to produce tequila. Secondly, how you produce it, how you cook those agaves, how you extract the juices, how you do the fermentation and distillation. All those pieces we follow as any other tequila company, but the trick comes is when you have the final product, you cannot adjust it chemically. And that's the big part because you all the time when you make a mistake, you can adjust it.
Right.
And that's when it becomes a formulation.
And let's be honest, a lot of like the best foods in the world are completely engineered, right?
Yeah.
I mean, all the crap they put on the shelves today, it's full of chemicals.
Even the fruits are genetically modified.
I mean, I've never had bigger
Oh my
blueberries in my entire life.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
I can
And
literally.
it all looks pretty. I
Yeah,
mean,
they look great, but when I get to the grocery store and I look at these blueberries, I think to myself, this is like an apple. It's not even.
That's not what grows on the tree.
That's not what grows on the trees.
Yep. Even
Interesting.
like the chickens, it's so funny because when we go to Mexico and other parts of the world, the chickens are skinny.
They're much
Right.
skinnier.
tall.
they run their
Or the
cows.
cows. Like I've seen that, like the cows, you can see like their bones in other parts of
Yeah.
the world.
Yeah.
Here our cows are all
Here, the
beefed up.
chickens don't even move. They just
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I've been told that they actually produce the chickens without heads, which is kind of
Oh,
Ooh, I never
wow.
heard
very
of
scary.
that. That's new for me.
Shout out to Tyson. So this kind of goes with the environmentally friendly, really sustainable production.
Yes.
Tell me about the process.
Yeah, so when we started, we wanted to meet all the families that were involved in the process of production. So besides, working with a distillery that follow the same principles that we have and what we were gonna go after, we did everything. I mean, from the people that produce our bottles all the way to the ones that produce the labels and the cap. And we want to minimize our carbon footprint.
Yep.
How we did that? I mean, we knew that if we can find upcycled glass or recycled glass to make our bottles, that's very popular in Mexico because Mexico, they drink a lot of soda. So it comes in bottles of glass bottles. And what we use is upcycled bottles of recycled soda bottles from Mexico.
Wow.
So I mean, we don't use any type of virgin glass. So we reuse in what other companies dispose. When it comes into the label, the paper that we use is actually eco-friendly as well. If you touch, it doesn't have any type of plastic finish on it. So I mean, and it
That's a nice
comes out
matte.
very easily. That's the only downside.
Yeah.
If it gets wet, the label comes out. But in a way, we want it to be that way. We don't
Yeah.
want that plastic to stick so hard.
Yeah.
When it comes into the cork is one of the only few things that don't come from Mexico. And if we use compressed cork or aglomerado, and what it is the leftover from the wines, when they start shaving the cork tree, they shave like, I would say 2.5, 3 inches. I don't know exactly.
So all the
but
waste.
They actually start punching the holes and get the cork that you get on the wine. We buy the leftover through the company
Wow.
that produce the cork, granulated, purified, and compress it.
Interesting.
So we even upcycling parts
Very,
of the cap.
very
So
cool.
no synthetic materials, no plastics.
Whatever
That's
waste
fantastic.
or things we can reuse, we definitely do that.
That's really great. So next time, you got a nice little buzz going on, you could think that you're doing something good for the environment.
Yeah.
It's in
Which I-
equilibrium. That's what we
Which
wanna
I
be.
appreciate.
And even whenever the tequila bottles are finished, that also is like, what can we do so that they just don't go into a landfill when they're empty? And so, Manuel is also doing cups that he creates from the bottles. You cut them, he cuts them,
Wow.
he sands
Yeah.
them, and he makes cups out of the bottom
You really?
portion of them.
Wow.
Yes, I mean, actually, we have programs with a few places where we collect the bottles. Then actually cut them at home. We use the same thing like a tile cutter. And then we rent in a studio where we actually give the pebble just to have the finish. I do all those by hand. And it started like a project during, I think slightly before COVID, but during COVID it was great because it gave me something to do. and we started giving it some accounts and bars and restaurants. They can reuse them and we give them to friends. So we always looking in a way just to see how can we reuse in an efficient way whatever we have left.
We try to do candle holders.
Cool.
Candles are super hard to make.
Extremely.
We gave up after like 2 times. I was
Yeah.
like, so hot. Doesn't smell right.
It burned different ways. The center burns out. One side goes the
Yeah.
other.
You
And
have
I'm
to have
going
it
like,
perfect.
well,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think-
Like the 3
Yeah.
candles in the right.
You
We
have
couldn't
to
crack the
geometrical
candle code.
positioning.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
candle code. I think there actually is.
and we got it different ways. And then we look at the glass. It's like, oh, we're gonna make cups.
Yeah.
I mean, we
We're
already
like
have
cups.
all these bottles. We have
Right.
to do something with them.
Wow,
So we
wow.
start doing that.
So
That's awesome.
speaking of accounts, do you remember your very first account?
I do.
I hope so.
You always remember
Remember
that.
your
Always
first.
remember your
Remember the
first.
When they call you the crazy because you're the only person that, I mean, one of handful of people that say, hey, I'm going to go against the big corporations
Right.
that
Sure.
dominate this. You always have somebody that say, listen, you have something good going. I want to support you. Yes,
Yeah.
I remember the first one. It happened, I think it was like August 13 or August 14, 2018.
Okay.
And it actually gets very close because August 13 of 1995, oops, I'm putting my age out there. That's when I first moved to the United States. And for me, selling the first case of my own product, I think it's a couple of days later, for me means a lot and actually links the whole scene about my journey through the spirit, you know.
Very nice. So I'm sorry. So who was the first account?
The first account is a place called Bathtub Gin,
Okay.
who is in a phenomenal cocktail bar in Chelsea.
Okay.
And they have a program. It's a gin bar, but they love tequila.
Wonderful.
And since day zero, those guys have always been.
And they're still carrying your product.
Of course.
Of
They're
course.
one of our best accounts ever.
They just
COVID.
reopened.
Yeah.
That's
so-
fantastic.
Yeah.
If you want to have a phenomenal cocktail, Bathtub Gin is a place to be. They're opening even a new location in LA. So
Great.
those guys always believe in us, and a handful of other accounts did the same. And today, even during these difficult times as COVID and then reopening, all those guys are calling us back and say, "Hey, listen, we're here in New Jersey. We have phenomenal accounts
Great.
too." So
Well, speaking of phenomenal drinks, let's start with the blanco.
that's
here.
a perfect choice. because,
Right?
I mean,
I
we're
think
gonna
it's a nice,
go light to
easy
dark, right?
transition, right?
And that's the DNA of all tequilas. All tequilas become as a blanco, and when you start aging them, then they're divided by maduration. So what we're trying here is a all 100% agave tequila, untouched or manipulated. So you see, very easy to open that cork. I mean,
Very
the
easy,
aroma,
effortless, which
Yeah.
you know,
Effortless.
which can get more difficult as time goes on. So this is,
Yeah, and I'm gonna walk you through a tasting over here, guys, because I mean I know we're celebrating,
Yes.
but you're gonna become experts over here of
Oh.
how to taste tequila and how to
Wonderful.
know, when you have the right
that's what
profile.
we were hoping.
Yeah.
And then there's also something special about our Blanco that makes it a little different than other Blancos that all have to be made in Mexico and twice distilled. But during the production, we did
Thank
something
you.
a little different.
We're all going to be tequila aficionados after this.
Yes.
Yeah, oh, excellent. Oh, thank you so much. I'm gonna pass it over here.
Thank you.
So we were talking about the whole production process. I mean, the traditional process is usually you harvest agave plants, you take it to the distillery, you slow cook them in brick ovens for roughly 2.5 days based on the company, a little bit more, a little bit less. You extract the juices, then you do a fermentation process. When it fermented, then that's what you use to distill it. You use a pat distill or an alambic. After second distillation from the juices from the blue agave plant, that's when it becomes tequila blanco. It looks this color. So this tequila blanco, let's say if they have any type of problems when they produce it for other producers, they just adjust it chemically. That's what we were talking about. For us, I mean, we only use the heart of the production. And let's say that we have to make any changes. What we do, we keep our tequila blanco a higher proof, close to 55%, in a stainless steel tanks for 10 months to open up naturally. So that's
And
what
that's
it's going to do.
that's our like little
Yeah.
twist on the Blanco is we actually make it a point to let it rest in the stainless steel tanks for 10 months rather than straight into the bottle.
Wow.
Which gives it a lot smoother, softer finish than having to adjust it chemically.
Opens naturally. Imagine you're not gonna get aeration, evaporation, and then if we have to make an adjustment, you can do an aeration process when you inject oxygen or air very slowly into the system, creating an artificial angel share in a way, and just adjusting without the uses of chemicals. So what it gives you behind is a tequila. They have all the sweet notes at the beginning of the spirit, but then when you taste it, the finish comes from the chest up instead of from your mouth down. That's when it burns everything and then burns all the way down. You go like, oh my God, I hope it's
That's
gone.
what I'm hoping doesn't happen.
No, this one, no. This is gonna be sweet.
We're gonna be like locked in on your face.
We're gonna be.
I was gonna
Everything's
say-
gonna zoom on you right now.
Yeah, I got to be honest. You know, a lot of times I take in a shot of tequila and I'm like, why the hell did I do that? Because it's just like the burn and everything you're describing just comes to life.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, the shot, I mean, anything that you shoot on, instead of you're drinking something extremely sweet, you're going to have that feeling. Imagine,
Sure.
it's like drinking something that your body's not expecting. So here, what we're going to do with this spirit, this tequila, is just enjoy the flavors and let your brain know, first of all. I mean, he's going to know right away.
Let it know what I'm about to
Then-
get myself into.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then when you take the second sip, that's when you get all the flavors. So let's go ahead and have a little bit of the nose, because this is what the most important thing about tequila is, just getting the aromas of the agave plant.
And one of the things that I hear often when you smell tequila is kind of keep your mouth a little open, so it goes in through the nose, out through the.
And you know what's interesting? As I'm smelling this, it doesn't seem as potent.
Exactly.
As some of the tequilas that I've smelled.
Sometimes you smell some of those goes through your nostrils and make you teary eye. I mean,
oh, absolutely.
This one is 40% 80 proof. I mean, all tequilas that come to the U.S. must be 40% in order to be called tequilas. But this one, I mean, the process when you only use the heart of the production and the best of the tequila production, it shouldn't burn your nostrils pretty much. It should be having sweet notes. And then what you want to do is just have one small sip, just to get it to the roof of your mouth. And like this, your body knows that you're going to be tasting tequila.
Nice.
Sweet notes of agave plant.
You're a professional drinker. Yeah. I can just tell already.
It's the way I hold the glass.
It's just everything about it. You're just so casually talking about the brand. Let me just drink it. It's like a cup of coffee.
It's nice to have appreciation for what you're drinking versus just drinking it. You understand the story and everything that goes behind it.
Yeah.
And the way what you're feeling right now in the taste, I mean, it hit the center of your tongue. So I mean, your sweet notes, and then it start building slowly, and the finish comes from the chest up. When you take the second sip, that's kind of like that's when you start appreciating the production and the way that it went into the production. So,
and you're drinking at room temperature.
Yes.
No ice, which is important to taste.
Which is what we wanted to do. We didn't want to bring any ice. We wanted to show our audience how manly we were. That's really what it was.
No lime.
No lime, no salt. That's a phenomenal ritual. I mean, the lime and the salt. In Mexico, they love limes and salt. I mean, it goes everywhere. But
you know, we could have softened the blow a little bit and done a little bit of limes and salt. But.
And gather peoples together. Listen, I'm nothing against lime and salt, but with this type of tequila, I mean,
we want to appreciate the taste of the tequila.
Yeah. And I mean, the notes that you get is saltiness, earthiness, citrus, all those flavors, lemon peel, orange peel.
I taste the citrus for sure.
Yeah. So and that's the beauty of the agave plant.
Excellent.
Yeah, excellent. And then the tequila comes from the lowlands, so the soil is very rich in minerals because it's volcanic soil. So that's where the earthiness of the flavor comes from too.
Wow. And you could appreciate it. I would never in a million years, if I wasn't on this show today, be drinking straight up tequila with no ice or no. But I got to be completely candid. It's surprisingly pleasant.
I can drink this. Yeah.
I can drink it, and if I sip it, it's a little bit more of a. You can appreciate the notes and the flavors as you describe, which I feel like I just took
vodka. Let's say it has. I feel like it has a little more interesting characteristics.
Absolutely, it has a little bit more flavor. Than,
And the way that Mexico, I mean, we drink, and you can put it in a caballito that is a shot glass. You get a beer, and you start sipping the beer and sipping tequilas, and that's the way that you talk to your friends and hang out. I mean, so
that's right.
It's a part of the culture.
Right.
I mean, the shots. I mean, it brings people together. But when you start understanding how to drink the spirits, it bring you a new perspective of what it takes to make. We're tasting here the history and the heritage of Mexico. And now it's so popular in the U.S., including from the food all the way to what they drink. And tequila, I mean, in the U.S. is a very big category, have become. I mean, I think the U.S. is the country that consumes the most tequila in the world.
Wow.
Mexico.
I can
we
see
love
that.
the tequila.
Yeah.
Tequila and McDonald's.
Yes.
Tequila and McDonald's.
Here we go.
I don't know.
And chicken.
And chicken.
All right, moving right along. The reposado. Is that next?
That's the next
Did I go in the right order?
All right, something that is important here is 100% blue agave are divided by maduration. So tequilas blancos by Mexican law doesn't have to be aged, but it can be aged in oak barrels for 1 day, no more than 2 months. The second category is tequilas reposados. The word reposado means rested. It means by Mexican law, must be
chills in
aged.
barrels.
Exactly. It must be aged over 2 months, no more than a year. In the case of Aldez Tequila Reposado, it's aged for 8 months, and we use reclaimed bourbon casks, a combination of the big players, Jack Daniels, Maker's Mark, Wild Turkey. We clean them very well. Then we age our tequila at higher proof, close to 55%, and then we age for 8 months. Wow. We're gonna get some angel share. A lot of evaporation happen because of the fluctuations of temperature, but it gives by default those beautiful colors of ambers. We don't add no coloring on that one, and also bring some compounds of flavor from the cask. A little bit of vanilla, chocolate. It's kind of
I like chocolate.
The best of the both worlds between blancos and what you're gonna taste.
Why
next
bourbon
to the
cask?
anejo.
I'm just curious.
You can use any type of barrels.
Could you? Okay.
Sometimes I like reclaimed bourbon cask because it's already have those compounds of flavor from the whiskey they were aged on.
Makes sense.
But you can use brand new cask. You can use cask from anywhere in the world right now. As long as you
French
clean
oak,
them and you age tequila blanco on it, it can be used on the process.
So reposado means rested.
Totally. Yeah, a lot
See,
of people call it a name.
That right there is a huge takeaway for me.
If you learn nothing else, I
mean, I feel like I'm going to go to the bar next time and be like, I'm going to have a reposado rested tequila.
Oh, yeah. I ordered tequila. They
Look
always
at
say,
me.
you want blanco or reposado, right? And I'm like, what's the difference?
I like that. It's been rested in a barrel, not for 9 months, because then it would be like the baby was born. But it's
No,
8 months.
actually-
It's just a little
Over
short.
2 months and no more than a year.
But
Or
yours
brand
is
is 8 months.
8 months.
Right.
Almost
So
a
when would
full
you
baby
opt-
term.
I wish you would have done a full baby term. It just would have been better.
And I know it's personal preference, but at the end of the day, when would you opt for a reposado versus a blanco? If you
It
were
goes
to move
however
for...
you feel. I mean, our body feels different every day. So sometimes I feel like drinking a blanco, sometimes a reposado, anejo, extra anejo.
Absolutely.
And also what time during the day. I mean, maybe we're by the beach. I want to have a cocktail, a margarita.
earlier
Maybe
in
it's
the day,
7. Maybe
later
it's
in
7.
the day.
You can go. You can totally see that.
Yeah, if it's 6
Aldez
days,
all day.
you want
transition.
bacon, egg, and cheese and some blanco. It
And
makes
if
more
you're not
sense.
sure, you look at the darkness of the liquor, the
Exactly.
time, the sun, and then you figure it out.
Are we all ready?
We're ready.
You guys
for
are-
it.
Yeah, oh
We
my
go
God.
ahead
You
now.
guys are slacking on
You
me.
know,
You're making me
Aldez
look
all
like
day,
the
like,
professional
we call it,
drinker
yeah.
that I'm not. All right, let's go ahead and...
Any credence to having the worms in the tequila? Is that just like an urban myth? Or
It's actually, tequila doesn't have anything on the inside. I mean, that's actually from mezcales.
mezcal?
Yeah, they use it as a little, way to. They have multiple stories.
I
But
feel like
mezcales use
mezcal
it.
is the lime and salt of the mezcal world. Like
Yeah.
the
Yeah, I can see
mystery and the thing.
Yes, exactly. But nowadays, mezcal is on fire. Everybody's talking about mezcales.
Right.
So rarely you see now mezcales with a worm and alacran or whatever inside. Now they're a purist. I mean, it's the far cousin of tequila, let's say.
I got a strange question, but is it known that when you drink straight tequila like this, all of a sudden it opens up your appetite? Because I'm
Oh
starving.
my God, I just got
Really?
hungry.
You did?
I just got
I don't know if
so,
it's talking about the food or what.
I'm so hungry. We just had lunch, and I just got really hungry.
I can eat.
Yeah.
After 2 more days.
Wow.
That's great.
I was
mean,
wondering if you guys had like chips and salsa or something.
we almost. I mean, we almost
I
been
was
to
like, I gotta
tacos.
eat a little.
Tuesday, not Tuesday. Actually, no, it's not Tuesday.
It's Wednesday.
right.
Give him another one.
It makes you want tacos.
You know, it's hilarious because when we go to Mexico and we say, hey, listen, it's Taco Tuesday, all my friends in Mexico are like, can you imagine only eating in Mexico tacos
Only
on
eating
Tuesday?
taco- no,
They eat
They eat
tacos
tacos every day.
Eat tacos every day.
Yeah, so
I don't know, they call it
Taco
Taco Tuesday maybe because they have like one more taco than they would have on the
it's
Wednesday.
hilarious when they hear Taco Tuesday, they're going like, so guys, I mean, here we have the reposado. Just on the nose, you're going to be able to tell the
Wow, I can
difference.
tell the difference right away.
This actually seems more my speed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes a lot into what you drink. So let's say you drink
I'm a
clear spirits.
bourbon.
You're going to go more
Yeah, I
into
was gonna say,
bourbon.
this is like
You're
a
going in that
bourbon
rock
whiskey.
direction. Yeah.
Yeah.
We get the drink?
Yeah, of course.
Let's do it.
I mean,
Cheers,
let's go ahead and one little sip. We start the same way. I mean, and after that,
Same way, just get up to the roof of your mouth.
Yeah, it's,
Well, it's got more bite to it.
yeah, it's good. Now you're adding those compounds of flavors, but everything is start building up. So the more it's aged, the more compounds it's gonna get from the cask. So the more you start sipping on the reposado, your flavors are gonna start going like, okay, I get it. So if you drink bourbons, it's gonna start becoming more like those type of spirits that are aged. I mean, the little bit of a bite maybe goes on the finish, but I mean, it's the same blanco. We don't do 2 productions to produce a reposado and añejo. A lot of other companies do it. It's just to uncover some imperfections and they save money. In our case, we're small enough and we have principles enough to don't use different runs to make this. It's just the same blanco, put it on a cask, and then work your magic when it comes into the blend of multiple barrels. It takes more than 1 barrel to create, quantities of tequilas. You're blending hundreds of, on the big companies, thousands. On ourselves, it can be 20, 30 barrels at a time or less. And it's not an easy science because it's not like, okay, all these barrels are 8 months. Let's blend them all together. It's going to taste good. No, all wood is different. Even if you come by the same producer, the wood is different. So the art over here is just how you create that blend to create a profile that you don't have to manipulate it in order to make it taste the same way.
Even the color.
Exactly.
Well, how do you ensure? I mean, obviously there's going to be a slight variance no matter what. But how do you
Always.
ensure you're not personally tasting every one?
I
Are
am.
you?
Yes,
Are you
and
really?
actually we're
that's a
we're
fun
there.
job.
We're leaving to Mexico in a week. I mean, we're gonna be there. I mean, we taste every
Wow.
production that
Do
goes
you really?
inside.
Yep.
Yes. Our tastings start.
You gotta wake
slightly
up at 5
early.
a.m., right?
At 5:30 and smelling and tasting.
My God, praise your liver.
Oh, here we go. We don't drink all the time, only at special occasions.
Which is like, almost every day.
Well, you know what's interesting is I don't know if it's because you said it or my mind's playing tricks on me, but I I can actually taste the chocolate aftertaste now,
Yeah.
which I've never
It's
experienced.
like bourbons. I mean, you get all that honey, vanilla, cinnamon. That's why a lot of these companies start adding flavors. When they start losing some of the finish that make them popular, they have to sustain it.
Yeah.
In our case, you're going to see variations, but nature's work that way. You slide a lime or an orange, it's never the same sweetness or tartness. It changes.
Absolutely.
But that's the beauty of nature.
Yeah.
So we're not like those companies that if you can open a bottle today and another one 10 years, it tastes the same. You're going to have a variation, but the quality and the profile is always going to be there.
Wow.
I'm enjoying this. So far,
Yeah.
the reposado is my...
Yeah, one of the things we hear a lot for people that are like gin or vodka drinkers is they think the reposado is stronger.
Yeah.
But it's actually all the same proof. It's the wood that you're tasting.
Yeah, which I appreciate a little bit
Yeah.
more than the clear stuff.
And when you start adding ice or a little bit of water, opens up.
Oh, yeah.
Use an analogy that they use on the masters of whiskeys, of the people that specialize in whiskey. They describe it as a flower. You have a flower and it's closed. You know it's a flower, but you don't get all the aromas. As soon as you put the flower and water, opens up and you get all the aromas from the flowers. It's the same with the spirits. We have all these spirits closed right now. As soon as you add ice, it starts turning a little sweeter. Why it becomes sweeter? Because you're diluting the alcohol proof on it.
Right.
And it
Yeah.
starts getting more complex. So the idea, and you see this and other people that drink whiskey, they serve you your pure malt or your blend or whatever you're drinking, and they put ice on the side or a little bit of water. And you can control the proof and the profile. So it gives you a completely different experience, and you start seeing spirits in a different way when you start learning how to drink them.
That's the key. How to drink it.
How to drink
That's
is
what
so
we're learning
important.
today. Yeah.
And that's what we do. We educate people of how to enjoy their favorite drinks, how to see it from different eyes instead of just taking a shot. You can actually drink tequilas in different ways, on the rocks, neat, even create and modify classic cocktails. So now there is no excuse not to drink tequila. And people don't hate tequila. It's that they don't know which tequila
They like.
That's
Yeah.
the
because they
truth.
stereotype the whole thing.
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree.
Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Yeah. Wow.
There, you guys are drinking us under the table here.
Well, it's good. And I don't get to drink it often, right? So it's like if I served you guys, a stack of blueberry pancakes that you haven't eaten in 10 years, you might devour the
Yes.
pancakes.
Exactly.
He's really hungry.
I mean,
you're
I'm really thirsty. All right, which takes us
To the añejo.
to the anejo.
You know what the word añejo means?
Well, it doesn't mean rest.
It comes from the word año, which means
Year.
age.
Oh,
Year.
I thought año
Year.
was year.
Year.
Year. I'm sorry. Yes.
Año.
Oh my God. Well,
You
in
got it.
Spanish. And in Spanish. I
So
said, like,
is it
yeah.
aged 1 year?
Minimum 1 year.
Minimum of 1 year.
Wow.
So over 12 months, no more than 3 years. But we're missing one
What's your
category.
average? What's your sweet spot?
Well, this one is 18 months.
18 months.
So
Yes.
a year and a half, basically.
Yes. And different companies can do anything. It will fall into the añejo category, either if it's actually over 12 months and no more than 3 years. Then a new category was created in Mexico. That is the tequilas extrañejos. There is any tequila that is aged over 3 years. We're working on ours. You're gonna see it soon. Our companies,
Over 3 years.
over 3
Over
years.
3 years.
Wow.
No
So we-
limit on the max.
No, and I tell you something special that we're doing because we always like to go the extra mile.
Sure. What's the color of that when it's aged that long?
Yeah, because now you can see the difference on the color from the
Yeah.
cask when you keep it only for 8 months and when you add an additional 10 months. This color is slightly different than my previous run of añejo. It's because it's the amount of charge that the barrel is gonna has already.
course.
It will give more color.
So is that the only difference between the two is how long it's aged?
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's all
that's it.
maduration. It's the same liquid, which spend more time or less time in the barrel.
Even from the beginning? So, I mean, if you talk all three, it's the same.
They're all
It's
the
just how
same
Just a
long-
life cycle.
Yeah.
No
That's
barrel.
interesting.
Instant, 8 months, a year and a half.
I
Exactly.
always thought it was different.
Or can
the
be-
reposado or the blanco,
Yeah.
I always thought
So
it was
did
kind of
I.
two different variants
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
tequila itself. I didn't know.
And
it was
I mean, I like to think that people get better with age, and so would tequila.
Exactly.
Yes.
And different time of day. However you want to drink it, it's just let's see what you think.
There's no right or wrong.
No, never.
It's just right or double right.
So you see, the aroma is more complex. You get more of the oakiness.
Yeah.
I start getting more like tobacco leaf.
Yep.
I start getting a little bit of the cinnamon is still present. Still, what was important for us, that you're drinking tequila. This didn't become a cognac because some companies use cognac barrels. It becomes so complex that it loses the most important ingredient on the production, that is the blue agave plant. So what we wanted to do is age for 18 months, and our followers and clients still know that they're drinking a tequila and didn't become something completely different.
It's so interesting because I would have to believe that everybody that's watching this out there, and feel free to leave a comment because I think I'm right. I think most people assume 80% of people, I mean, that might be a stretch, but I don't know where I come up with these percentages. But I think most people think that the darker the tequila, the stronger the tequila. So if you're at a bar and you're ordering the blanco, it might seem like the safer choice, right? It might seem like it's a little bit less harsh than ordering the anejo or the reposado. At least I know that's what I thought. And I know a lot of people that I go out with to the bars back in my day.
Like last week.
Yesterday.
I would say this is less harsh.
But it's not. I think it's they're all the same proof. They're all the same. They're all just as strong, right?
They will all get you the same amount of.
And as psychologically, because it's darker, everybody's afraid of dark because they think dark. They think, oh, it's dark liquor, it's stronger. Yeah. But in actuality,
because whiskeys and other darker spirits usually are higher proof.
Oh, that's correct.
That's why I think the misconception is there.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that you just taught, I think, a lot of people that that's not the case.
Most tequilas in the U.S. are 40%, but doesn't mean they can be higher. It cannot be lower and be called tequila in the United States. But in Mexico, if it's over 35%, it can be called tequila. But it's a regulation the U.S. has. So most of the tequilas that you're going to see on the shelf are going to be 40, 80, unless it's stated on the label.
Got it.
Another thing you should know is if you go to Mexico and you're in Cancun and you have all-inclusive situation, the tequila in Mexico.
Don't drink the alcohol.
No. Don't drink the water. No, drink the alcohol. Don't drink the water.
Definitely drink the alcohol.
Don't drink the water.
You may drink it and be like, wow, I can drink tequila like it's water in Mexico. And it's because it's actually like 35, 37%.
That 2% make a huge difference when it comes into the alcohol content on it. You save a lot of money too.
That 2% is that different?
Yeah. Oh, big time.
Huge.
Yeah.
2% additional water in there.
It's still tequila. But if you bring that same bottle and bring it over here and trying to sell it in the United States, it doesn't fall under regulation.
Interesting.
The U.S. have that regulation.
We like it stronger in the U.S.
Yeah.
We don't want watered down anything.
Exactly.
So if you go to like the duty free in Mexico, you'll see the bottles. A lot of them are 35, 37%.
Oh, interesting. And that could be why they're less expensive.
Not necessarily. They might be the same price, but you see some people going like, oh my God, that tequila is so great, so soft. Yes, it's 2% more water.
It's so
but
soft.
all you can do is put
it's
ice
got to have a bottle of Poland Spring.
Look at the label.
Put ice in here and you get the same effect.
Yeah, look at the labels.
Yeah, water it down. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I like the anejo the best.
Anejo?
Personally. And I never in a million years would have thought that would be the case.
And it's so good, with dessert. The reposado is good with desserts too. I know you're hungry. I'm sorry, but
just keep talking about dessert.
Leches, tiramisu. It goes excellent with cigars. People are doing this with cigars.
Oh
yeah. I could see this
half a strong body.
with a tiramisu and a cigar. Sounds good right now. Man, God.
We should have brought that.
Tiramisu, that would have been good.
So let's talk about a couple of cocktails that are your favorites. I want to kick it off with the Mexican old fashioned, which I think is so cool because I'm an old fashioned drinker. So, tell me what do you guys like about that drink, and then we can talk about a couple others.
This is the amazing thing about being so close to New York. Mm-hmm. I mean, so the old fashioned or the Mexican old fashioned came actually from a classic cocktail made with bourbon. So in New York, always thinking outside trying to make these classic cocktails into something different. So the old-fashioned, the way we like to make it is instead of using sugar, we like to use agave nectar. Agave nectar nowadays is very popular. So what is agave nectar? Agave nectar are the uses of the agave plant, the same as that you use to produce tequila, but in a syrup form. So it's a concentration form of sugar. You put a little bit on the bottom of the glass. You add a little bit of aromatic bitters. You can use either, Angostura bitters or orange bitters. The two of those, perfect too. Little bit, if you want to use more classic, you can use a maraschino cherry. Then you add a couple ounces of tequila, big ice, don't shake, stir it, and peel of an orange. You can flame it if you want to be fancy.
I love smoked old fashioned.
But then you can actually squeeze that peel, put it around the glass, and it's beautiful the way they represent tequila. So you can see how versatile the spirit can be.
Yeah, absolutely. And I never would have thought to make an old fashioned with tequila, but it sounds like something I'm going to try, especially with the
anejo.
Anejo.
And now that you open the bottles, I'm so excited.
Yeah, now it's game time. Forget
now
it.
it's time.
Oh my God. Yeah, game over. Any other favorite drinks that you guys have?
I like the Paloma,
Paloma.
which is actually like the margarita. It's as popular as the margarita in the U.S., but in Mexico. And I didn't know what it was until we were traveling to Mexico a lot. And you see a lot of these kind of like pinkish colored drinks. And it's with grapefruit, with blanco or reposado, depending on the recipe, some salt sometimes. And
Sounds good.
Citrus. It's great.
Sound great.
It's
with,
my go-to.
With some chips and salsa. It sounds
Yeah.
fantastic.
And the Bloody Maria as well.
Oh,
The Bloody Maria.
the one.
The Bloody Maria. The Bloody Maria.
The Bloody Maria, yes. Or the different parts of Mexico have different names and different variations. I like it spicy. I mean, you can use clamato. Clamato is super popular in Mexico. They do it with that one. Or even you can make a vampiro that is kind of like a spicy variation. But you can use any mix that is a Bloody Mary. You can use it and just use some salsa Maggi or Worcestershire. And you make
That's
it.
a hard
It's
word to
great.
say,
You can,
yeah.
It's phenomenal for brunches and if you're by the pool. So, of course, the classic margarita, you can never go wrong.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
always using fresh ingredients. I mean, lime juice, agave nectar, ice, and tequila. That's all you need.
Wow.
Beautiful.
So when you start talking about other stuff, I mean, it's, keep it classic. and
Keep it
balanced.
classic.
Keep it classy.
So we got our summer cocktails, ready to go. Everybody should probably head out next time they're at the liquor store
Yeah.
or at least at a restaurant and check out.
Actually, the next
Aldez.
issue of You, we're going to be doing.
Oh yeah, we'll be doing some craft cocktails.
We're going to show you. We're going to actually
with
break down
Aldez.
the recipe
Yeah.
step by step, incorporating Aldez for some of these.
Yeah,
and,
which is super
awesome.
exciting.
pick some of our favorites, and you'll see that next month in the next issue of You.
Absolutely. So Jen, Manuel, thank you so much for joining us.
Great to
Anytime.
be
Let's go
here.
ahead and,
And-
do a toast, right?
Yeah, we'll do a toast and make sure you follow them. The links at the bottom here of the screen. You can check them out and you can make a purchase. You can buy a bottle. You can buy 100 bottles.
Definitely
go.
worth a sample.
Really doesn't matter. I'm feeling good right now, but let's do one more cheers.
Cheers. Salud,
And
guys.
Cheers,
salute.
guys.
Yes.
And
Cheers, everyone.
yes. That's all we have for today. Thanks for joining us on the Inside View. Have a great afternoon.
We'll see you next time.